Should I get a female or a male budgie? Birdie or Birdo? Christina or Cristiano? Phoebe or Phoebo? Kiwi or Kiwi? You get the point. To answer this question, first off, you need to ask yourself, does the sex matter? Are you getting a male for your already existing female or a female to your existing male? Or maybe you have a male and you still don't know, do you want to bring another male for him or a female to make a couple? Are you trying to breed? Are males or females easier to tame? Are males or females easier to talk? Let's dive in to see and discuss what makes a better pet budgie. We will start by answering the first 3 questions, since they all are related. Then we will dive into the remaining questions, and at the end of the video, I will give you an extra tip when choosing between male or female that best suits you. So make sure to stay until the end. If you are trying to breed your budgies, then obviously you are looking to bring the opposite sex of what you have, for them to successfully have an offspring. And if you don't know what is the difference between a male or female budgie, I have a dedicated video to teach you exactly how to identify your bird's gender. I will keep the link in the description. Now, if you don't want to breed, then maybe it's best to bring the same gender. Don't worry, budgies are very social and they can make really good friends. Of course, sometimes they don't, it depends on a lot of factors. But if you are a new bird owner, you shouldn't be worried about this stuff yet. What you should be worried about, however, is to quarantine your new bird, which we will discuss in more details in a later video. Of course, you might think not having a nest box will prevent them from breeding, but that's not always the case, and that's why it's better if you bring the same gender to be 100% sure you won't be having babies at all. Now, if you do have a male and you are interested to bring another female or vice versa, that's still doable. But you need to be careful. If you don't want them to breed, don't provide them with anything that resembles their nest box. It could be from any toy you may have, or even the feeders where you put their seed mix in. In general, 2 males make better friendship than 2 females. They are prone to be less aggressive than females, but of course there are a lot of female friends that never had a problem. But I usually recommend for new owners to have 2 males rather than 2 females, but that's my personal opinion, based on my experience and what I have seen so far. It doesn't mean that bringing 2 females doesn't work out, and if you prefer 2 females, then go for it. 2 males, however, might be more chattery in general than 2 females. And when females do make voices, usually it sounds more like a noise rather than singing. Now let's see, are males or females easier to tame? I know you might have read everywhere on the internet that males are easier to tame and bond with than females, but I can assure you this is wrong. It might be the case for someone, but believe me, I have budgies for the past 15 years or so, and one of my most tamed birds ever was a female. So if you are trying to decide what gender do you want based on which is easier to tame, then gender shouldn't be your preference. However, if you ever have a tamed female and at some point you decide to let her breed, then you would have a pooping problem on your hands, literally. The female poop increases in size when she's about to lay eggs. How about talking budgies? Isn't it better to bring male rather than female? Aren't males better talkers than females? I know this is a very controversial question, and I will answer it in a different way than you might think. Budgies aren't programmed to speak. However, With time and patience and a lot of consistency from you, you can teach your budgies to talk. Actually, some of them have huge vocabulary. But nothing is guaranteed. Not all budgies talk. You could buy a male budgie thinking at some point he will talk, and he never does. Or vice versa, buying a female budgie thinking she would never talk and then surprises you and starts talking. So my take on this: never buy a budgie because you want him or her to talk. If that's your interest, I would suggest you go for other parrots. What makes budgies perfect pets is their personalities. What a huge personalities they do have. I can't imagine this little dinosaur have such big heart and personality that you wouldn't begin to understand until you bring one to your home and devote your time with your budgie. You will be surprised of how wonderful these little birds will impact your life. I am not saying they wouldn't talk. A lot of them do, but I will leave it for another video of how to teach them to talk. I just want you to appreciate your budgie for who he or she is, because they are really stunning parrots. And finally, the tip I have promised you. Since these birds really have a diversity in their personalities, try to look for a budgie that have a personality that best suits you, so you would both be very comfortable with each other. Rather than looking at the gender, look at the bird's personality. Do you consider yourself outgoing? Then look for a budgie that stays active and jumping around. Are you more of a laid down person? Try to look for a budgie that is calm, so you would cuddle together. Are you more of a talkative person? Look for a chattery budgie. Are you more of a silent and shy person? Then you can find that too. It really is wonderful how these budgies have so various personalities that, in my opinion, it's best to find a match for you, exactly as we match our friends in real life and find a lot in common with someone that we become very close friends. I think you should do the same with your parakeet. For more about budgies, make sure to subscribe to the channel if you are watching this video from YouTube and hit the bell icon to get notified when the next video is up. Or like the Facebook page if you are watching this video from Facebook.